So there was a woman who took her husband into a therapist's office, and she said, "Doctor, my husband thinks he's a dog." And the therapist says, "Well, let's get him up here on the couch." And she goes, "He can't get on the couch." So what do you call a dog magician? A labracadabrador. And finally, what does a dog mom say to her children? "We're eating dinner soon. Don't fill up on homework." 2 weeks ago, I arrived a little bit late to our Q2Q rehearsal before church each Sunday, and I was disheveled. I was not sure I had on matching shoes or clean clothes. I was a new mother all over again. If anyone had looked closely, the dog hair on my pants and on my coat was a telltale sign. Marcy and I had just adopted some new babies, and that Sunday, 2 weeks ago, was the first time I had tried to get out of the house in their presence. Now Marcy, who had more work to do, she had to get them crated and get them settled, and she arrived also disheveled and covered in dog hair, and she walked in the door right as we began the service, but the smile on her face was undeniable. She was in the throes of puppy love. 1 year ago, we had 3 dogs. We had had 2 of those dogs for 11 years, and they were litter mates. The other one we had had for 5 years. And then in a moment between January and July, we lost all of them. Oh, we grieved and we felt lost. As we moved through our grief, our loss, we tried to find the good in that situation. Well, now we can travel. We can go to France. Now the house will be cleaner. Now we can stay away from home as long as we want to. We don't have to worry about getting home to let the dogs out. Marcy and I made a pact. No more dogs. We agreed completely. No more dogs. We're going to celebrate our freedom. We are going to embrace the fact that we are adults and we don't need to have any dependents around. Now, we were making those vows to each other in July when our son Luke was still living with us. He was home from his first year of college and he was still there. And then time passed. And we thought about and we talked about how hard it was losing those dogs. The grief had hit us so hard, and we were owning our season of grieving. And right in the middle of it all, Marcy's mother passed away. So we had 4 major losses in a 6-month period of time, and we were incredibly sad deep down under our smiles, and we were very despondent. Now, as the primary dog walker in the family, I relished my almost daily walks with my buddies, all of their lives, and now I walked alone. I would sometimes ask neighbors who were walking their dogs if I could pet them. They thought I was kind of the crazy lady, but they let me. I could not get the sad images of my dogs when their health was failing out of my head. I didn't sleep well. My walks were sad. Author Dean Koontz has written, "Once you have had a wonderful dog, a life without one is life diminished." And I have to agree with that. I felt like my life had been diminished. And then our son Luke decided to move out. Now, he's not returning to college this year, but he is living in the area, but our nest was now completely empty. No more dependents. Just 2 adults going about their days. Total freedom. About month 3, we started checking in with each other. Still good with no dogs? Sure. During these months of dog-free days, our home internet went out, and we had to rename it. So we had a service agent come out, and our previous internet was called 3 Dog Night. And so when the gentleman asked me what I wanted to name the new internet, I said 0 dogs. And Marcy was kind of mad at me for that one. And then Marcy took a few trips to Southern Illinois to visit her father, and there was no other living soul in the house except for me. I was lonely. I had begun to feel this interesting feeling, images and thoughts about all of the good that the dogs gave us came into my life, and that began to replace the images and thoughts of their failing health. I felt a stirring in my heart and a longing for the companionship of a dog again. Doris Day has been credited with these wise words. I have found that when you are deeply troubled, there are things you get from the silent, devoted companionship of a dog you can get from no other source. Now what was I going to do? I couldn't go back on my word to Marcy. I couldn't break those vows that we were not going to get any more dogs, so I did what anyone else would do. I just kept the new realization to myself. And then I started rehearsal every evening in October for the play that I was directing that is now running. And Marcy was alone every evening. She was the only living soul in the house. So about a month ago, I checked in again. Still good with no dogs? She says, well, what about you? I hesitated and I realized this was the moment to tell the truth. I said, well, actually, I've been thinking that maybe we should get just one dog. Just one, not three. Just one dog might be nice to have around. Marcy whipped out her phone and showed me several dogs she had been looking at on Pet Finder, the website for pet adoptions from foster homes and from shelters, and we laughed about the fact that we had both been feeling the exact same way, unwilling to break our vows, and we then set about making a concrete, wise, logical decision. We visited shelters, we continued to look at Pet Finder, and ultimately Marcy connected with a woman who was fostering a 12-year-old Jack Russell Terrier mix named Jack. Now we decided Jack would be a great fit for us. He was a senior dog, we're senior people, and so we were set to go get him. I went to rehearsal, and when I got home that night, Marcy says, well, things have shifted a little bit. Jack is no longer available. He's found his forever home. However, the woman I talked to said there is an urgent need for a home for a 12-year-old schnauzer. I said, well, then we have to get her. And so she said, that's what I thought. I told her we would get them. And so into our home came Bonnie, a 12-year-old schnauzer, who is our first, well, our adopted baby. So we felt like things were going so well that day that we then broached the subject of maybe Bonnie should have another friend. So Marcy found a 4-year-old Jack Russell Terrier. She says, well, this guy needs a home. He's in a foster home with 10 dogs. Well, we'll have to get him. That dog was going to be delivered to our home in a couple of days, and meanwhile, the next morning after Bonnie spent the first night with us, the shelter person called us to see how things were going with Bonnie and says, hey, guess what? Jack's available. So we went and got Jack. Kind of looks like a deer, doesn't look like a 12-year-old. He's an amazing dog. So the next afternoon, our 4-year-old Jack Russell Terrier named Bojangles was delivered to our home and into our hearts. And once again, we had 3 dogs in the house, and once again, we had 3-dog night. And life is oh so different again. We have souls and muddy feet running through the house. We have companions and love. We have another chance to give and receive love. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not going to have any more dogs. I am not telling you this story to make you feel any guilt. The reason I didn't want any more dogs was because I didn't want any more pain. I didn't want to repeat the pain of losing my companions. I hated watching their failing health, and I hated the thought that they were gone and that they were going to be taken away, and I didn't want to have that again. I could avoid all the pain if I just didn't have any more dogs again. And that's true. I wouldn't experience the pain of losing dogs if I didn't have them anymore. Logical and practical truth. And I also avoided a lot of other things. Puppy kisses. Foot warmers in the bed at night. Walking companions. Other souls to care for. Unconditional love that covers all. I learned an incredible lesson through this experience. I realized that I was missing so much joy and love, a ton of wonderful positive emotions as I tried to avoid future pain. Yes, I don't want to go through losing these dogs, and I know that I will someday, but in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy them. My life is so much richer and fuller and joyous with them. Missing positive opportunities because we don't want to experience more pain is a far too common experience for each one of us. I'm imagining right now you're thinking about a thing that you are avoiding because you don't want the pain. So you're not willing to open yourself up to potential positive. It happens to all of us. We all need to remember the balance of life. In her blog entitled, "Embracing All of Life Instead of Resisting Pain," social worker Faye Assay writes, "Emotions, be they uplifting and joyful or sorrowful and scary, come to us to teach us." In other words, we can't just have the good stuff. We know that. We can't just have good feelings all the time. We can't always avoid the negative, darker feelings. We have to move between them. That is the condition of life. So what kind of joy are you missing because you are afraid of the pain? What kind of love has eluded you? No one wants to endure more pain. No one would sign up for that. But all of us want to experience the love and the joy and the fullness that life has to offer us. So what does this puppy love saga have to do with our upcoming holiday season? Well, first of all, we know that dogs are amazing at giving us unconditional love. Josh Billings wrote, "A dog is the only thing on earth that loves you more than he loves himself." And because of their ability to love us so fully, puppy love is a reminder of the amazing, unconditional love of God. And that is offered to us every second, whether we're ready to accept it or not. God's love is always there for us. Puppy love is also a reminder for us to give love. It's a reminder to take a risk on joy instead of focusing on the pain. It's a reminder to pass it on. Pass on the gift of love this holiday season. God said, "I need somebody strong enough to pull sleds and find bombs, yet gentle enough to love babies and lead the blind. Somebody who will spend all day on a couch with a resting head and supportive eyes to lift the spirits of a broken heart." So God made a dog. Don't miss out on the puppy love moments of your life. Embrace all of the possibilities to find and give love, especially this holiday season.